What is going on in the Catch fam? It is Steven here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the must-start kickers for your fantasy football teams going into Week 14. If you are not already a part of the Catch fam, certainly encourage you to hit that subscribe button, join the best community in all of fantasy football. And if you do enjoy this video or any of the other videos we put out there, certainly encourage you to hit that like button as well. It means a ton to the channel. But most importantly, make sure to get in those comments. Let us know who are you considering on the waivers. Let us know who you're thinking about starting or benching ahead of Sunday so we can set your team up to win a very pivotal week in fantasy football, guys. And you have the playoffs coming around the corner, so we need to get those dubs. But without further ado, you know what time it is. It's time for the must-start kickers. Up at number 1, talking about the legend Nick Folk from Arizona, guys. The number 7 kicker on the season, 30% rostered. I've been calling my shots on this guy these past few weeks. I told you to bench this man against the Buffalo Bills because this is just not a good opportunity, and he only had 3 fantasy points. Week before that against the Minnesota Vikings, I said you need to put him out. Coming off of a stinker against the Jets, you need to put him out there. 15 fantasy points against the Minnesota Vikings. I think he comes back in a big way against the Arizona Cardinals here in Week 14, a team that is very, very favorable for the kicker position. And now this is a dome weather game too, so you've got that controlled atmosphere, which is great for the kicker spot. I think this is going to be a perfect opportunity with a lot of chances for this guy, Nick Folk, to get his job done, guys. I think Nick Folk is going to shine. The Cardinals have been handing out made field goals like Santa hands out gifts on Christmas Day, guys. You need to stream against Arizona Cardinals with the kicker position. Then the week after this one, he's got the Las Vegas Raiders, another weather-controlled dome game that has a variable favorable matchup against the Raiders, guys. So this is a back-to-back performance where I think Nick Folk can just light it up and get double-digit performances and make you a very happy fantasy owner. So go ahead and put him in your lineups. Up at number 2, we're going to talk about Daniel Carlson, the number 4 kicker on the season this year and the number 1 kicker on the season last year. 70% rostered, so he might not be around. But if he is around, I just want to friendly remind you that you need to pick this guy up ahead of the finishing of the season and in the playoffs, guys, because he's the best kicker in all of fantasy football. He did miss a field goal last week against the Chargers, which is a little uncharacteristic, but he did get the 50-plus yarder to make up for it, to get that double-digit performance of 10 fantasy points, which he is so good at getting either 10 points or getting very close to 10 points, guys. He's just as sticky and just as consistent as bread and butter. You need this dude in your line. Up next, talking about a man that I have not mentioned much. He is from the U, Miami of Florida, guys. Michael Badgley for the Detroit Lions. I have been calling the shots against the Minnesota Vikings recently. When Nick Folk was coming off of that stinker of a game, I said go and attack Minnesota Vikings. He had 15 fantasy points. When Greg Zuerlein was coming off that stinker of a performance against the Bills, I said go get it against the Minnesota Vikings, and he had 19. Michael Badgley is coming off of a 19 fantasy point performance himself against the Jaguars, where he lit it up from the 40 range. He had 3 field goals in that 40 to 49 range, and he just lit the scoreboard up. And now he gets to go up against the Minnesota Vikings. This is obviously going to be a dome-controlled game because it's in Detroit. The Detroit Lions offense looks amazing, guys. They are moving the ball up and down the field. And the Lions are converting the field goals when they give this man a chance because Michael Badgley gets it done. He got it done for the Colts. He's getting it done for the Lions. This man can't miss. He's under 20% rostered. Let's boost that stat up there, guys. And the Detroit Lions are favored in this game, I believe. So I think the Lions are going to be fighting hard and fighting all day long because Dan Campbell likes to win ball games. So step out of the way, Minnesota Vikings. Michael Badgley's here to stay. Up next, talking about a guy that is 1% roster. It should be available in basically every league format that you are in. That is Matthew Wright from UCF, playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This man is a stud, 26 years old. He's off his parents' health insurance. He is doing it himself, guys. Well, guess what? Look at the last 3 weeks, because this man does it into the insurance market, and he does it on the field. 16 fantasy points against the Atlanta Falcons, and the 2 weeks before that, he had 13 fantasy points against the Indianapolis Colts and the Cincinnati Bengals. He said, I don't care how good you are. I don't care how bad you are. I'm going to beat you down and leave you on the ground. Now he gets to go up against the Baltimore Ravens. This AFC North Division rivalry game, which usually calls for field goals anyway. ways. This Pittsburgh Steelers team, guess what? They just need him. They rely on this guy. They say we can't get it done because Kenny Pickett, he overthrows our receivers. George Pickens always is frustrated. We need your Matthew Wright. And Matthew Wright says, I got your Mike Tomlin. Let me kick it through the up post. And bam, he's going to do it again this week against the Ravens. Go ahead and grab him. He's 1% rostered. No excuses on this one. And the following 2 weeks, he's got the Carolina Panthers and the Las Vegas Raiders, and then the championship, dear Lord, he's got the Baltimore Ravens again. So this could be a sneaky play for the next few weeks if he keeps it going, and I don't see why it's gonna stop. Up next, talking about a man that is 39 years old. He's been on his own insurance for quite a while. Robbie Gould from Penn State, playing for the San Francisco 49ers. He had just a total role change for himself after Jimmy Garoppolo went out, guys. Let's look back first, though, over the past 5 weeks, right? Coming into this week, right? So week 8, he had 7 points. Week 10, he had 9. Week 11, he had 8. Week 12, he had 8. And then week 13, boom, bingo, got about. He had 18 fantasy points, guys. He was just all over the place against the Miami Dolphins, which is actually one of the harder teams to go against for the kicker position, and I'll tell you exactly why. That is because the San Francisco 49ers were already relying on the kicker spot because this offense, despite all the weapons, is actually relatively inefficient in comparison to what they probably should be. But also now, without Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan is forced into a spot where he needs the points at every opportunity because this defense, they can stop any offense. So this offense for the 49ers has to put up points on every drive. This dude going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't care who the heck he's playing. Robbie Gould is going to be needed. I think this guy is going to be so pivotal for the 49ers. And for that, you're going to get a ton of opportunity with this guy. This changes the entire landscape of the rest of the season rankings on Robbie Gould. With the Jimmy Garoppolo injury, he's number 13 now. There's no question in my mind by the end of the season, he is going to be a top 10 kicker. Robbie Gould, a.k.a. the future of the San Francisco 49ers. Up next, talking about a guy named Matt Gay for the Los Angeles Rams from the University of Utah, which just upset the USC Trojans in a pretty big Pac-12 game. Well, Matt Gay, he said, listen, guys, I'm going to put on for my alumni, right? 14 fantasy points against the Seattle Seahawks. This was a little bit of out of surprise, out of the blue, right? Because he's been having a stinker of a year in comparison to what he's done on his career. This is coming off of a 5-point performance against the Kansas City Chiefs. But let's look at this real quick. Let's look at the trends here without Matt Stafford and without Cooper Kupp and how this team has looked, right? Over the last 3 weeks, he had 10 fantasy points against the Saints, 5 points against the Chiefs, 14 points against the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, so we're seeing that he is getting the opportunity, though. It's not always turning into a big game, but he is getting the 50-plus yard field goals, and he's getting those chances, too. I think that Matt Gay has more to it than we're maybe seeing here, and this offense is looking a little bit better with Wofford as opposed to Bryce Perkins, guys, and now he's getting, this is the big ticket treat of why I think Matt Gay can be good this week. He's getting the Las Vegas Raiders, right, which are a very favorable matchup for the kicker position here. I obviously talked about Daniel CARLSON being a really good play. I think Matt Gay can be a really good play here, too. I think this is going to be a game where Cam Akers, who just got it done, can get it done again. Kyren Williams, maybe he gets it done. I think the Rams can move the ball. I still think the Raiders defense is going to have themselves a game for sure and put up good fantasy numbers. But I think the Rams are going to be able to get into field goal range, and I think Matt Gay is going to be able to hover around that 6 or 7 to 10 point performance, which in a lot of people's leagues is a really good kicker. So go ahead and snag the man. I like him in this week against the Las Vegas Raiders. Last kicker I'm going to talk about here is Jason Sanders for Miami Dolphins, coming off of a 6-point performance against 49ers. And that 2 weeks ago, he had 13 against the Houston Texans, right? Going up against the Chargers, though, is the big reason why they have been an absolute vacuum for kickers to make those field goals. Guys, again, like Santa on Christmas or like your next door neighbor on Halloween handing out chocolate treats, right? Jason Sanders is in a good spot here to have a big game. My biggest concern with Jason Sanders is he's been inconsistent with the field goals, man. He has missed a decent amount of field goals, but he has had some boom games where he's had the double-digit performances, and I think the Miami Dolphins, Tua a little bit banged up now too, Waddle a little bit banged up. I don't think this is going to be as explosive of an offense as we've seen in the past, where it's basically just one pass, game over, they're scoring touchdowns. I think now we're going to see a little bit more of a methodical offense, a little bit more, but we got to rely on some field goals. And I think that's exactly where Jason Sanders can come in, complement that with an easy opponent of the Chargers. And I think he's in for a pretty good game in some streaming situations, guys. He is 13% rostered, so very widely available. With all that said, guys, this has been the must start kickers for your fantasy football teams going into week 14. Certainly hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, certainly appreciate if you hit that like button. Definitely encourage you to hit that subscribe button, join the best community in all of fantasy football, join that Discord so you can get chatting with all of the community as well. And most importantly, get in those comments and let me know what is going on your rosters or on your waivers so I can help you set up your team ahead of this Sunday's matchups, guys. Well, with all that said, this has been the Must Start Kickers, and you saw it here first at the catch.